Can you guys hear me? I'm gonna check if anyone can hear me because there's something wrong with the microphone, I'm afraid. Oh, fuck. Let me see the comments. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I assume now you can guys hear me probably. Anyway, so let me start back. So tonight I've got a bit of spare time. We're gonna be imaging with MSUGS, which is a camera mounted on Electro L2, a Russian spacecraft owned by Roscosmos and Roshydromet. Those are two, like, not companies but agencies that have a spacecraft orbiting the Earth in a geostationary orbit about 35,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. So this is a spacecraft that orbits our planet constantly above one point that is above the equator, observing the Russia, Australia and Africa. It is mostly used for meteorological research, also like hydrostatic research, so observing the water around our planet. And we're gonna be actually processing the data from this spacecraft taken earlier today about 1 p.m. at the UTC time, which is about like I suppose about 10 hours ago or so. We're gonna process a color image of this planet, or planet Earth, based on this data. We're gonna use Photoshop for this, so let's start. I'm gonna go ahead and open the files. I've got them saved in a separate folder. Wait a second, live. Let me just do this live. Okay, so there's 11 files. 9 out of these files are actually spectroscopic pictures. One of them is a mask file, and one of them is a color composite pre-combined by automatic software. Tonight we're going to be working mostly with the 3 images at the beginning, which is band 1, band 2 and band 3. Those are the bands in visible and near infrared light, corresponding to basically the light that is visible and slightly closer to the infrared bands. The color balance is not going to be exactly true because those are not RGB filters, but they are rather like GR and R prime, which is basically near infrared. But we're going to go ahead and process the data. Actually, you can see that today I've developed an action for automatically processing this data, but I'm going to do it manually to show you every step. So first thing we do, we load the raw data downloaded from the server. It's actually data that is only, it's pretty much not processed. It's only processed by the onboard software of the satellite, which is mounted on the computer that is attached to the satellite. So the pictures are about 111 megapixels each picture. 111 megapixels per each frame of Earth. They are done by taking basically a mosaic of 9 by 9 pictures divided like wait a second. I'm gonna go ahead and use the slice tool for a second. Screw it. Okay. Device slices horizontally and vertically. 3 slices. Yeah. So the camera actually is about 30 megapixel images that observes the Earth in 9 such panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 9 panels, and then those panels are actually stitched into one single image on the spacecraft processing computer and are sent back to Earth. Either way, we actually get 9 pictures taken through different spectral filters. We're gonna use just 3 of them, which are based in infrared and in visible light. I'm gonna be checking the comments on my phone just if anything goes up. Yeah, there's someone saying that the Earth is flat and prove it, so I don't know what am I supposed to prove exactly because I just started working, so I don't know what am I supposed to prove. Either way, there's no outer space and the Earth is flat. Okay, I guess the Earth is flat, yet we see it as a spherical in this raw imagery, and that's without any processing, so I guess it's not flat actually. Either way, oh fuck, now we should be seeing Photoshop. Okay, so we got those 3 images in the spectral bands, in the RGB bands. Actually, one of them is slightly near infrared. So we're gonna start processing this stuff. The first thing we want to do, we want to actually combine them into RGB, because we have 3 separate monochromatic images that we need to combine. So the order is as follows. Image band 1 is actually band that is close to blue light, so we're gonna use it as blue channel. Image band 2 is slightly between green and red bands, and the image band 3 is actually near infrared band. So we're gonna combine them into RGB by using blue channel as the blue, green channel as green, and red as red. So the first thing we want to do, we want to copy the band 1 channel and paste it into the third slot, which is basically blue slot, and we're gonna copy the red band channel, infrared band channel into the red cell. So the first thing we got to do is this, and we have it in RGB color. So this is what we're gonna be working on today at the beginning. So this is the composition of RGB, except that it's shifted into infrared. So basically the plants in the image appear slightly reddish. Yeah, I know that there will always be hater, Victoria, but it's casual stuff. I don't care. Like, I'm just doing this for fun because I'm doing it anyway. It's funny for me to process imagery of Earth, and it's kind of an experience. Either way, so this is the basic image we're gonna start off. And the first thing we want to do after compiling this into RGB, we want to increase the contrast for a preview and make it slightly brighter. So this is going to be our preview that we're gonna leave this layer with the brightness and contrast for our work, basically. And you can probably notice that the image is slightly shifted towards the red, so we're gonna go ahead, hit Ctrl M, which is basically the curves, and we're gonna level out the black point so this is monochromatic, just to fix the color balance a bit. That's a bit too much green. This should be cutting it, I think. So the next thing I want to do, I want to actually resize the images so they're slightly smaller, because the 110 megapixel resolution is too much for my computer while working on this imagery while live streaming, because the live stream also takes up a bit of the the computer processor abilities. Anyway, as you can see, the detail on those images is insane. Basically, those are 110 megapixels images, so we're gonna go ahead and rescale them to about, let's say, 50 megapixels. No, it's gonna be 25 megapixels because it's square. So yeah, but it should be about it. 25 megapixels should be still quite, yeah, it's quite good quality, and it's gonna make our processing slightly easier. So we're gonna remove this initial contrast we applied. So the first thing I want to do next is basically, while we can still do this, I want to sharpen the image. This will have no influence on the color balance, and it's just a casual thing. I just removed the brightness and contrast adjustment I made earlier, so we're gonna go ahead and sharpen the image a bit using the Smart Sharpen filters in the Photoshop. So it's gonna take a second because it's quite a big image, so it's a normal thing for it to last a while. I hope everything's worked for the stream, and yeah. Okay, so we got this, and what we want to make a what we call a synthetic green channel, because as you have probably seen, the problem is that the vegetation in this imagery is shifted towards reddish color because of the red channel used. Red channel comes from infrared, and vegetation like plants are very bright in the infrared band. So we're gonna copy green and red channels. I'm just gonna mark them green and red for the purpose of the work. We're gonna set the red as a lighten mode and put about 60% transparency on this. This is done so that the plants have a more normal look to themselves. It's not probably gonna fix every. I'm gonna try with 100%. It's probably not going to fix all the color of the plants, but it's gonna get it quite nicer. Yeah, and I wonder how to make this red channel slightly dimmer in the plants. Let's see if I can pull down the. No, I can't, but it's gonna be slightly okayish, so we're gonna play around with that. I'm just gonna check one thing. Yeah, okay, that should be enough. Let me just delete this. Right. So this is our RGB with the greenish stuff. I'm gonna apply some saturation to see the colors better, like this. And I'm gonna balance the color by using Q. This is basically blending the channels with different transparency levels. And I'm gonna go for the classical imaging I've done usually, where the plants are going to still not be perfectly colored, but I'm gonna probably fix it later on. So this is this, and the next thing we want to do is stretch the histogram. Hit Ctrl L. We're gonna stretch the histogram so everything is slightly brighter. A funny effect of the imaging done here is that we can see actually the night side of planet Earth because of the fact that we are using infrared data, and Earth is still visible in infrared during night. So just a funny reminder of that. So we got the Earth slightly brighter. Now we want to color balance using the clouds, so I'm gonna hit Ctrl M. First I'm just gonna save this just in case anything crashes. Photoshop, I want to save the PSD file. Okay, PSD file saved, so I hope it's working. And now I'm gonna go ahead and hit color balancing, so Ctrl M, middle one, and balance the color using clouds, because clouds are usually, you know, white. So this is a trick we use. So it's actually starting to look quite nicely at this point, this image. I'm gonna go ahead and hit up the vibrance a bit more. Usually this is done to make the colors a bit, you know, better. like it is done to increase the contrast between the channels, and I do this to enhance the color of the water mostly. I'm gonna check on single channels where everything is okay. So the next thing we want to do, we want to probably take down a bit of the greenish cast by using the curves. So this is a curved image of the I took this down. So the step next step is going to be duplicate the layer and apply a high pass filter, which is going to basically detect the edges in the image. I'm going to go for like 5 pixels size, so that should be enough of sharpening. And I'm going to overlay this so you can see that this actually sharpens a lot of clouds in the coasts because it detects the edges in the image. So this is one of the cool things. So we're going to flatten this image, and it's actually getting quite sharp and nice view of our planet, a blue variable. So the next thing we want to do, we want to go into channel mixer, just bump it up a bit so there's more space, and put it up there. Channel mixer, and we're gonna go ahead and use the green channel and actually introduce some of the infrared into the green channel to make the plants slide. Oh fuck! Yeah, we don't want to do that. We want to actually introduce some of the greenish cast into the plants by using this. Not too much of it because it might turn our colors too artificial, but this should be good enough for the purpose. So the plants are getting kind of greenish, but still not the point we want to get. So next point, we're going to select the colors of the plants, which are kind of yellowish, and get them back into green, I hope, because with this sort of imagery, the problem is that you get a big problem when you have the plants which are actually brighter in infrared than green light. Because if, in case you didn't know, guys, plants actually reflect more infrared light than green, so plants are actually not greenish but infraredish, if you want to talk about colors. And we're gonna use the hue tool to get the plants into the greenish. Yeah, so this should be causing everything to look nicer. So basically I'm making the plants back green by using infrared data. So this is the minus of the MSUGS sensor, that it basically makes the plants red because it's shifted towards infrared slightly. We can spot the Suez Canal, I think, here, if I'm not mistaken. So then here, Suez Canal, the delta of Nile River. By the way, Nile is getting green here because of the plantations around it mostly, and the vegetation in Nile, which is in infrared slightly more visible than normally. Mediterranean Sea, and this is the Italy, by the way, just if you haven't seen Italy from space. So the next thing that is about MSUGS is the edge of Earth is actually kind of crappy. You can probably see it here. There's a lot of jagged pixels on the edge of Earth. This is caused by the way that the imaging camera works, namely because the imaging camera has one thing, it takes the images in panes, in scanning panes. So the problem is that always the edges are gonna be a bit fucked up because the pointing of spacecraft is never perfect enough for this. So we're gonna go ahead and fix this artificially by actually marking the space around Earth. It's gonna take a second for this to work out. I'm gonna mark the black space around Earth. I'm gonna right click this and do a refine edge. I want to make a mask that will basically cover part of Earth's atmosphere. Yeah. And what we want to do, we want to make a median of those pixels here. So median, the size of, I think, 5 pixels. Yeah, 5-6 pixels median. This is done to basically reduce this edging here. And we're gonna colorize the atmosphere back into the bluish. What I'm doing here tonight is actually not scientific imaging, it's more of a how we create nice pictures of planets that are actually published in many websites and so on. This isn't meteorological imaging or anything of that kind, it's just, cool imaging, getting the atmosphere into blue color back, so removing the artifacts of the camera and stuff like that. So I guess the basic processing is done right now. We're gonna just do a bit of contrast processing on this one, bumping up the highlights and darkening the shadows just to enhance the contrast. This is Africa, by the way. So our basic processing will be done, I guess. Let's see if there's noise. There's no big noise, so we don't need to denoise. We might just denoise from color imaging. So what I want to do is I want to duplicate the channel and blur it by not this function. Just blur it, causing blur just a bit, like 1.5 pixels, to remove the color noise from the image. Yeah, this is removing all the coloristic model in the image, basically. So that's one thing, and the next thing we want to do, we want to actually, because mostly the camera imaging is basically doing a square image. As you can see, it's a square 1x1 side, and normally publishing is done in a 4x3 format, which is more suitable for screens and stuff. So we're gonna move around this, and we're gonna actually make some background around the Earth as the black background, because of the fact that usually you don't publish things that are squares. Yeah, I think only Instagram is actually publishing squares. Facebook is more useful when publishing 4x3 format. So this is quite nicely enhanced coloristics with the greenish plants back, and the color balance is slightly better than normally. This is very important in the infrared imaging, because people are not used to infrared imaging in the sense that it makes the plants red, and you don't want to do that. And one thing I can show you actually after we are done with this, because we're pretty much done with this processing this image, I'm gonna go ahead and head for the live folder and hit up some multispectral bands. I think I'm gonna go ahead with band 5. I'm gonna stretch the band by using Ctrl L and a bit of black point. So this band is actually using, if I remember correctly, a wavelength of 1.9 micron. This is the wavelength in which Earth's atmospheric water vapor exists, emits the light. So when we overlay this, so it's gonna be a bit of a problem actually here. We're gonna resize this into, I think, 5x5000. See if that's correct. Yes, that's correct. So this is the band of imaging used to highlight the dispersion of water in Earth's atmosphere. So you can see how the water is placed in our atmosphere. So, for example, there's a small hurricane down there of water, and it's not there in the normal visible band imaging. So this is a useful trick to predict where the water on Earth will go and where it is and so on. And we're gonna actually add something to this image, because this is a normal scientific, slightly artistic image of Earth. It's still real, it's not like fakery or anything. People would suggest that. We're gonna actually add some scientific value to it by adding a colorized layer. Saturate, colorize. We're gonna hit for blue colors. Easy to see that. We're gonna actually add some scientific value by lightening the original image using the water vapor. Like this, and just curving a bit for more contrast. So the original image now has this bluish overlay, which shows where the water in Earth's atmosphere is in reference to land masses, which you can see from the normal imaging. So this is quite a useful trick which we often use in imaging to show, for example, where water is. We can also do many other things with this stuff, but I'm not going to cover this right now. So this is one of the scientific imaging techniques we can use. For example, we can highlight where the water is. We can precipitate weather with this stuff, but that's not the point of tonight's live stream. Tonight's live stream is to show you how the cool imagery of Earth is done, how the wallpaper style imagery is done. So one of the artifacts of the camera used here is the I'm not going to talk about it, it's just a small artifact, but it's nothing. There you can probably see that there's a slight line going here vertically that's slightly like brownish. That's because of transmission artifact, but there's nothing important to talk about right now. So I guess that's a done image of Earth actually. We might, for example, hit the black point on the blue. No, stretch it. It's a blue planet, so we're gonna stretch the blue a bit. Maybe a bit of darkness in the green channel should be stretched. Yeah, and this is basically a color image of Earth with derived from the data gathered by the MSUGS instrument aboard this Electro L2 spacecraft. I'll check the comments and messages because I think something has came in just right now. What is it? Why my fingerprint isn't working? Come on. Okay, I'll check it on computer and not private messages, so it doesn't matter. So we got this. The last thing we might want to do, we might want to apply a bit of sharpening on large scales. So high pass again, and we're gonna apply this high pass on very large objects, about 30 pixels in size, and it has to be very smooth, so we want to make it delicately, so soft light and a bit of transparency on it. Yeah, and that should be good enough covering the sharpening of bigger features on Earth. And that's it, that's how we produce the imagery of our planet. So the last thing we want to do, copyrights, so we want to, fuck, don't hang up on me, Photoshop. Just don't hang up right now. No, okay. Just in case, I'm gonna save this again, and we're just gonna write a small copyrights to the image, so credits. That's good, I gotta use that white font, maybe grayish. Roscosmos, which is the Russian space agency, Roshydromet, which is the company or institute which co-owns the satellite, Electra L2, which is the name of the spacecraft, and my name for processing. So we just add those small credits to the side of the image, and this is ready to publish, basically. Before publishing, I might just increase the saturation maybe a little bit. That's ready to publish, so we're gonna go ahead and save this as JPEG for publication. So save this. I'm just gonna save this as Earth2 maximum sized. Go to my Facebook, close my chat. Nobody needs to see me chatting with Sophie, right? And F2 JPEG. So upload this. I actually processed the same image earlier, so image as earlier, but during live stream. So I guess this shows you how we process the raw data into color images, what kind of tricks we use to actually recover the regular information, recover the true colors from the infrared data and so on. This is just plain useful stuff because, you know, it's hard to get stuff running without this, so if basically while using the infrared and stuff, it's harder to recover the colors normally, but we got it. I'm gonna check for any comments and stuff like this, if there are any comments or someone needs something from me. But I first need to find my video. Just wait a second, guys. I know I shouldn't be using phone on the stream, but I have no better way of checking the comments and so on. Let's see. There's this live stream. There's me posting it. Okay, no new comments, so you're fine with this stuff. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about satellite imaging, you can write me a message, ask here in the comments. I don't know, message me on Facebook, post to my timeline, whatever you need. If you need satellite imagery of anything, like, I don't know, your home, your hometown, local wildfires, anything, just message me. And I'm sure I can figure something out. So this is how the geostationary imaging is done. We basically process the raw data into color images, and we want to post them. Normally we derive scientific products, so for example water vapor, NDVI, and so stuff like that, but it's not as interesting as normal color imaging, which shows our planet nicely. There's India. Somewhere below those clouds is the Kerala province, which is currently being flooded. And stuff like this. So I guess that's it for this live stream. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Yeah, see you guys. Oh, and that's, by the way, the RLC, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let me just check finally and say goodbye to you all. Okay guys, I guess see you for the next stream. Bye.